we've got hospitality usually wrong in the United States. We usually think it's like service. Sure, you need to have the great mechanics, but it's about how you make someone feel.
Welcome to the Blackberry Podcast, where we share stories, wisdom, and insight from the amazing people we get to meet and collaborate with at Blackberry Farm. I'm Sarah Chabot.
And I'm Mary Celeste Beall.
Today's guest is Bobby Stuckey, master sommelier, restaurateur, advocate for restaurants and restaurant workers, also a marathoner and a cyclist and an all-around badass guy. You kind of have this really eclectic life of athletic pursuit, of being a businessman, of also really taking care of people in your restaurants. But I actually don't know the early part of the story. Like, I know 1995 started at the Little Nell, but before that, give us a little look into young Bobby.
So young Bobby was probably, my life was changed dramatically because of academic deficiencies that I had. I was dyslexic before we diagnosed people to be dyslexic. I'm of that generation. Like, I didn't find out until college. I was really struggling, got kicked out of Jesuit school, things like this. It's really exciting. And I had some very Zen-like parents. I was a punk rock kid getting in a lot of trouble, not bad trouble, but just I was struggling with school. I worked so hard to be below average. And I had some they just went by their own playbook, my parents. Mm-hmm. And they sat me down and they said, look, this is the deal. You can be as punk rock as you want. You just need to do 3 things. I was like, okay, what are the 3 things? My dad had this is before you looked online. There was no online in 1984. It was a book of every school, college in the United States and what GPA you needed to get in. He's like, dude, I looked through this. Some of these schools, you only need like a 2.25. So you just need to get into a college. We're not going to worry about Ivy League. That bus left the station and left the whole state. So you're going to need to get into a college. You're going to need to have a job. So I got a job at the end of that week bussing tables. I'm still bussing tables. And you have to do a sport or an activity. Yeah. And my dad's like, why don't you do cross country? No one gets cut from cross country.
So from busboy to the Little Nell, I mean, there was obviously like a path to learn about wine and service. Was that local restaurants or through college?
It was 2 things.
Okay.
In high school, I worked for a couple. They weren't married at the time, and it wasn't their restaurant, but a woman chef named Chrissa Robertson and a front of the house guy named Tom Kaufman. Mm-hmm. And I worked for them in high school. They worked for a woman named Carol Steele, which, like, if you think about it in the 80s, a woman chef, a woman entrepreneur having these restaurants, it was a very different climate than anyone else was exposed to.
Right.
And Tom was he went on to become like the wine director at the Hotel Bel Air in the late 80s. Mm-hmm. He taught great wine classes. And I was too young to taste wine, but I would watch the classes and I loved it. And I was watching and I realized that the more you know about wine, the better of a waiter you'll become. So if I was going to become a waiter, I had to pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. And I saw it as a way that if a server was good at wine, they could be better at spreading the warmth of hospitality. Mm-hmm. And then in college, I worked at a restaurant. I went to school at Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, Arizona. Go Lumberjacks. I just gave a talk there last week, so it was awesome. But I waited tables at a place called Brix, B-R-I-X, like the wine. And Flagstaff, Arizona in early 90s was not a culinary mecca. And this restaurant Brix was very forward-thinking wine-wise. And we'd have wine class on Wednesdays. And I saw a brochure on the back office. And it was for the quartermaster sommeliers.
Wow.
And I was like, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's this wine program. They do an intro. Oh, well, I'm going to write them, find out about it. Uh-huh. And I found, it took me about maybe a year and a half from when I saw that to get into one of the courses and go but it gave me this North Star.
Yeah.
Because the restaurant industry is solidly a wonderful blue collar career. I love that about it. It is there for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we don't have a path, A to B, if you want to keep progressing.
Right.
And that was a path. We didn't have the proliferation of hotel restaurant management schools. I mean, NIU did, but it wasn't like, here's a way to do this. So that's what I locked in on. And it was great for me.
Well, and there's such a beautiful structure to how they approach wine and how they teach wine. And so how lucky you were to be at the very beginning of that.
Yeah, it took
program.
me about a decade, but it gave me a decade of work. And that was what helped me. And then I went back to work for my mentor from high school. He had now opened his own restaurant in Scottsdale, Rancho Pino, and I was helping him out with wine down in Scottsdale. It was going great. And he was a great leader, Tom Kaufman, because he also didn't want to just hoard talent. If he had a young person that he thought needed to expand, he was there to help him. And he said, Bobby, I think you should apply for the assistant sommelier job at the Little Nell.
Wow. And what an icon.
And it changed my life.
Yeah. What a dynamic wine program that so many great sommeliers have come from. Sometimes I hear people talk about it in eras. So who were you there with?
So I went there to work for a gentleman named Mark Pape.
Okay.
And he had done the fundamental part of the list. And I was working for him. And, it's busy. Back then, it was like, this is the mid-90s. Eric Calderon was the GM. Connie Thornburg, who runs Ojai. It was just a great team. And this gentleman, Mark Pape, I was working underneath him. And he got really just, the industry can be hard on some people if you don't take care of yourself. And he was burnt out. And he put in a very long notice. And Connie and Eric said, hey, look, this is going to be a reach for you, but we believe in you. We've got the next 3 months before Mark leaves. You can really work with him, get everything in place. And we're going to give you, I think it was like a 3 month before I was allowed to be called the wine director, kind of work as Connie as my F&B director, make sure I was the person for it. And it was great. And it was great because they were great leaders. Eric Calderon and Connie Thornburg and that team were great leaders.
It seems like, in your life, you've had some great guidance from early age with your parents through, your first boss, Tom, and now Connie and Eric. Like, that's really such an important ingredient in finding a pathway to success, is having people that believe in you.
Right. I was just thinking how incredible it was that your parents saw kind of your strengths and weaknesses in a young age and didn't put pressure on you to be someone that you weren't maybe meant to be.
100%.
And they really laid out what was important to them ultimately. And then you found your own passion through that. It's pretty amazing.
It's awesome. And they were amazing. And, my dad has a saying, maximize your strengths and just neutralize your weakness.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, just get your weakness to be neutral, because everyone has strengths.
Yes.
Right.
And everyone has weaknesses. So
I know you go way back with Sam Beall, the late proprietor from here at Blackberry Farm.
I want to say he also was not a strong student. And his parents pulled out that same book and were like, you could get in the University of Alabama, but you're not going there because you'll have too much fun. Let's find some options that are going to work for you. And I think the first time that he actually wanted to study anything was food and wine. I mean, it was cookbooks and books about wine, that atlas of wine. I mean, I still have them, but I mean, it was wine for him that he truly could spend hours reading about, tasting. And it's just so interesting how someone who doesn't want to study anything else can find something they love.
And that's what's so beautiful about the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry. It is really a beautiful industry, and it is great. It's not for everybody, but there's a lot of people that it works really great for.
Do you think it's like your interest in wine and hearing Mary Celeste talk about Sam's interest in it? Do you think it's because there's 1,000 ways to make beautiful wine? There's a science, but then there's also an art. And so people can, come at it from a lot of different ways.
I think it's this beautiful marriage of creativity, art, and science.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't throw the baby out with the bathwater and just blow off science.
Right.
Right.
But you can not make great wine if you're only about science.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also think there's this beautiful historical piece. And I love history. I'm pretty much like a washed up historian because I was so dyslexic. I couldn't probably get a PhD and be a history professor. That was probably what I was really wanted to be. So I love that in wine too. There's that history piece. It's just so awesome.
That connection to people's story. Yeah, absolutely.
But I also feel like the connection, being able to share the story with someone at the table. You are so good at that. And I feel like Sam truly loved going to a table and having something to share with them besides, welcome to Blackberry Farm. This is my family's home. It was a way to connect, but he was talking about something else besides himself.
Yep. 100%.
And not talking about Blackberry. It was sharing something, someone else's story that otherwise would not be shared necessarily if the bottle was sitting, sold at a wine shop. If someone just went in and, they didn't happen to ask questions about it or they were busy,
Yeah. 100%.
We're at the Little Nell, and then do you get the call or do you apply for this sort of pinnacle of a place to work, the French Laundry? The
French Laundry was like on a rocket ship.
Yeah.
Everyone knew about it. I'd already eaten there, I think, twice. And actually a gentleman, at the time, he was the wine director at Le Cirque in New York, Ralph Hersham. This is the late 90s. He was talking to Laura Cunningham.
And that's Laura Cunningham, co-founder of the French Laundry with Thomas Keller.
100%. And they were going through all these applicants and they just weren't finding what they were looking for because they needed someone who really wanted to be on the floor, not just a wine director in an office. They needed that. They needed someone to build a wine list that was mostly a California wine list to an all-world list. I love being on the floor. I had helped build the Little Nell wine list, so that was in my lexicon. And Ralph said, "Hey, Bobby, I was just talking to these guys. You guys should get on the phone."
Awesome.
And it was not really like an interview. It was just more of a conversation with Laura and then Thomas. And then they said, "Hey, why don't you come out with Danette?" We were getting ready to get married in Napa, coincidentally. And we went out there and I was like, wow, I hope they like me because this is awesome. It was really this really disappoints people because if everyone wants to hear the chaos of fine dining, it was literally the easiest job. Sure, the hours were long, but it was the easiest job you could have.
But when you're on a team that is committed to the same level of excellence across the board, it's much easier.
It's so easy. Everyone knew what you were doing.
Right.
There wasn't any people, they were there for excellence. And that makes it, I tell people that all the time. I hear people, they get stressed out about fine dining. I want to go work in a more casual restaurant because of this and that. I go, you're missing the boat. When you have a vision for excellence, life is easier if you're interested in that.
And then you decide to take a pretty big leap and open your own restaurant in a whole different place.
Yes. I love Colorado. I'd already lived there. I had fallen in love and married Danette. She, sitting right over here, her family lived in Golden. Her dad lived in Golden. We had lost her mom. We lost her mom to cancer. Her dad was out there. It seemed like a natural fit. Boulder was the perfect distance from Dick Alberico, my father-in-law, that I could be a great son-in-law, but he still had to call before he came over.
Perfect. Yeah.
It was awesome. So, we're moving to Boulder. At that time, Boulder, no one even took reservations.
Yeah.
No one would possibly wear a sport coat on the dining room floor. it was wild. Like Thomas Keller was supportive, but scared for me. He was like, good for you. This is nuts.
Yeah.
He's like, Bobby, that's like the Napa Valley of beer. That's not a wine. That's what he said. He goes, what are you doing? And to open a restaurant based on the cuisine of Friuli Venezia Giulia too.
Right.
It was, everything about it was a recipe for, wow, this could get really sideways real quick.
But again, you had a vision with Lachlan McKinnon Patterson, your partner, and you just said, let's do it. And this year you were this last year, outstanding restaurant for James Beard. I mean, pretty an incredible mark you've made, not only on the restaurant world as a whole, but certainly for the Colorado restaurant scene.
We feel very lucky to be part of the Colorado restaurant community and to be part of it. To watch it grow is amazing. We have so many good people out there right now. It's really exciting. And look, we don't have a goal to get awards.
Mm-hmm.
We have a goal as a restaurant group to get a little bit better every night.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're lucky enough to be around, like we're here.
20 years.
Or how about here? 50 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you get better a little bit each day, each week, each month, good things are going to happen.
I truly think that y'all have made such an impact on the Colorado restaurant scene. Thinking back to when y'all were first in Boulder, and then even 5 years later, I mean, there really weren't any restaurants anywhere near y'all. No one would go to Denver or Boulder and not go to Frasca.
We feel very lucky. We feel very lucky that people will make that drive from DIA up to Little Boulder. We feel really humbled and honored, and there's really a responsibility. If a guest gets in a car and flies and then drive planes, trains, and automobiles for a Frico, that's a big commitment.
I don't want to ask about the stumbles and the challenges, but I kind of do. Like, I feel like you probably nailed it from the beginning from my perspective, but were there nights where there weren't reservations? Were there nights
100%.
Yeah.
Well, just the mere fact that we're in Boulder,
Mm-hmm.
It's a town of 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small college town. As Thomas Keller says, the Napa Valley of beer. He's right. It is that type of community. Look, I didn't think about these things. I just thought we would be a Boulder restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually a Colorado restaurant based in Boulder.
Mm-hmm.
So a third of our guests every night drive up from Denver.
Mm-hmm.
A third of our guests every night
Mm-hmm.
are from somewhere else in the country or the world. And then maybe a third are from Boulder,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. And, if it's a January night and it's snowing sideways, you lose every reservation that's driving up that lives in Denver immediately.
Right.
You lose every reservation that is staying in a hotel in Denver and might drive up. There's no way you're going to
Mm-hmm.
drive 36 when it's snowing.
Right.
We've been around long enough that we went through the economic crisis in
Mm-hmm.
08 and all the crazy
COVID, yeah.
all that. Like that was a shared experience any of us
Mhm.
did 6 years
Yeah.
ago. So everyone has their
Yeah.
COVID experience. But yes, every time we have a slow period or a soft moment, we're like, well, this is a great opportunity to take care of these 12 guests.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
really make a mark on
Yeah.
their experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, speaking of Denver, you've got how many restaurants in Denver now?
We have Tavernetta, we have Osteria Alberico, we have Tavernetta Vale at the Four Seasons.
Yep.
We have Frasca, we have in Boulder, and Pizzeria Alberico in Boulder.
So having such a variety of restaurants, from the pizza, all the way to fine dining, you do have an opportunity to touch the restaurant industry in a lot of different ways. And you just mentioned about COVID and going. That's the first time I really saw you and I don't want to say advocate's the wrong word, because I feel like you've always been a supporter of every restaurant position. But there was an organization behind talking for restaurants and independent restaurants in particular.
Yeah, we woke up March 16th and the whole country shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a few of us who got on a call March 18th, 2 days later. Tom Colicchio was on the call. He had some advocacy work experience. The rest of us didn't. And Andrew Chasen, who was not a restaurant guy, but he's like an agent for like Jose Andres and things like that. He was on that call. And we just said, hey, what are we going to do? And it just started. We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, the most I knew about the 202 or DC was as a kid, I think it was on Sesame Street or whatever, the School of Rock. You know, a white paper becomes a bill, goes to the hill. That was my experience.
More
of
people
DC.
should watch that again.
It's very funny. That's how it works. You know, and as an organization, the more you delved into it, the more we all realized that, whoa, we're the biggest employer in the United States. We're a keystone, you know, like in biology, we are a keystone species of the US economic system. And no one understands us. Like, even if you think about the history of COVID, the first thing we did was not try to write the restaurant revitalization fund. The first thing we did was try to fix PPP, because PPP did not work as it was written for restaurants. Because if you remember the early PPP fund, you had a 12-week test period. So if you got your PPP fund on April 1, which many industries did, you had April, May, and by June, you had to have all that money paid for payroll. Well, we're a moderate state with COVID, Colorado. We weren't open till June 6th. You couldn't use a PPP in 2 weeks.
Right.
So the first thing we did was we worked with a bipartisan, we had Dean Phillips from Minnesota and Chip Roy. It was the Phillips Roy PPP Flex. And we got the PPP to flex to give a longer test period. And that's what the first thing saved restaurants, because a lot of restaurants weren't taking their PPP because they were being advised, hey, if you can't use this all, it's going to be like a noose around your neck.
Right.
So that was the first thing we did. And then we started realizing, wow, this industry is a mess right now.
Yeah.
And then we worked with Earl Blumenauer from Portland, congressman from Portland. He really understood restaurants. And he helped us write a white paper that became a bill that went to the Hill. It actually didn't make it in the HEROES Act of Nancy Pelosi's HEROES Act. It got killed. And then it got re-put back in when the Senate flipped. And it got passed in the, it was a part of the American Rescue Plan.
I mean, what a sort of convergence of your loves, like the restaurant industry and history, like all in one moment right there. To be a part of that's got to be pretty special.
It was wild. You know, I have a big testament to my wife. She thinks the only reason I did the Independent Restaurant Coalition was to get out of yard work, because she really thought that like COVID happened and my wife was licking her chops. She's like,
here's all the things.
I got you. You have worked 6 days a week for our whole marriage and you're stuck with me. And I was like, oh, honey, I've got this thing called the IRC that's starting. And she's like, I really think he lobbied DC so he didn't have to do yard work. And that might be a bit of an exaggeration. You'd have to ask her, but I did definitely get out of a lot of housework from doing that.
I mean, hospitality at its core is caring about other people and taking care of them. And it feels to me in hearing this story that that's what you all were doing. You were taking care of your own.
100%. And you know, the Independent Restaurant Coalition is still around and advocating for our industry. We need to keep it that way because there will be another crisis. And you just don't want to build that plane again. And it's because our industry is so fragile. It is a fragile industry. It is the industry that if you're new to this country and you don't speak the language, you can work in the restaurant industry. If you're, we provide more jobs for single moms than any other industry. in line level and management.
Mm.
So it has flexibility for people like that. There's so many people that get blessed by the restaurant industry, and we need to make sure it's a healthy industry.
Healthy in a place where people have mentors like you had, and that I know you are to so many people in your in the industry and on your team, but like that are keeping people pushing down a path, and they have a North Star too.
100%.
Because it can be very much a professional experience too.
100%.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing for me about the restaurant industry is just the power, back to that power of believing in someone. You know, here so many times someone might start as a server, you know, in college or right out of high school, and then they could end up being a sommelier. It's an easy access entry, but then there's so many facets that you can explore and really develop your own interest.
The barrier to entry is available for anybody.
Yeah.
People who want to make it a great career, it's up to them.
Mm-hmm.
So no one's denied.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I think about last night, eating at the barn, and Zane, my front waiter, listening to Zane say, hey, I found hospitality in high school. That's what it's all about.
Right.
And I think, you know, there's a little bit of a dialogue currently, not to bring up a negative, but of some food and wine journalists that are not into fine dining.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
An article was written recently, like, do we need fine dining? Well, that journalist, I'm sorry, everyone's allowed to have their own opinion, but they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have fine dining because fine dining creates a different level of path and direction for people that need it.
Mm-hmm.
I have all types of restaurants, but it's hard to have a path just at the pizzeria unless you go into management.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Fine dining also creates connection for the people dining.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean, thinking of the time that you spend at the table, truly that is my connection place, whether it's my own table at home, a table at a restaurant. But thinking of how busy everyone's lives are, and if you wonder, okay, how much time am I sitting face to face with someone without a TV or without a computer or without other distractions, and someone's taking care of you, it's truly one of the singular places that you can really connect on a different level.
100%.
So relaxing and just, you know, something where you can really just kind of enjoy the night.
And connect and be creative with your thoughts and all those things.
Having a path, having fine dining, and all of these various choices to be a part of. You've seen the restaurant industry over the last 30, 40 years, and there's been a lot of changes in the way restaurants are operated and how people take care of each other. I want to kind of dive into how you take care of yourself too, and encourage your team to take care of themselves as well, whether it's through running or art or taking time away from the restaurant. What is sort of the philosophy that Frasca has for that balance?
Thank you for asking about this because I think it's so important. Our industry is different. We have a different set of hours. Mm-hmm. Not unlike an emergency room surgeon. We just don't get the same credit as an emergency room surgeon. You know, we are in an industry that can have stresses and things like that. There needs to be balance. And I always say you need to want to be excellent. So excellent in school is 90% and above. So you need to have of your 5-day work week, if you take 2 to 4 weeks off a year, your 48-week schedule, you got to be trying to be excellent those 5 days at work. Because there is going to be a day that you're tired or you're sick or your loved one has a problem and you can't be 100% or in that 90 percentile. And the best way to do that is to have balance. And so you have to have something outside of the restaurant industry that's positive. I got into an argument with a very famous chef journalist, and rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain. Mm-hmm. when he was filming at the French Laundry 25 years ago. He was like, his sale was the sale of the chaos, the war. He was a great storyteller for that. And he gave a lot of people a lot of energy with that. But I disagreed with him. He was the first person I told that the French Laundry was the easiest wine job in America. And he did not want to hear that.
Yeah.
He's like, why? I go, because it's orderly, bump, bump, bump. It's everyone has a vision, this. And if you take care of yourself and don't go to, there used to be a bar that everyone went to called Ponches. If you don't go to Ponches every night, it's amazing how much energy you have.
Right.
And that was something I've always led with. So the whole time that we've had Frasca, I've never gone out after work. When I was at the Little Nell in Aspen, Colorado, I stopped going out after work in my late 20s. The idea was to be balanced in this industry. And I'm not a prude.
Having a good time.
Yeah. But like you really need to do that. So we advocate that a lot in our organization. And not everyone latches onto it. This is another thing that journalists have done the wrong thing. They have sold that story of chaos, party boy chef, all that for way too long. Can we just move on and talk about the beauty of the industry and what is there for you if you do the right things?
Yeah. We're gonna go back in time a little bit on that.
Okay.
You first met Sam Beall, late proprietor here at Blackberry. The first time you learned about Blackberry Farm, I think you met each other at the French Laundry.
So I was working at the French Laundry when Sam and Mary Celeste moved to Yountville. Sam was working in all different departments. And then finally I got him in my department. And as we all know, Sam loved wine and he would spend his days going to every, he probably saw more Napa wineries in his stint there than people who live in Napa for 50 years. And he'd come into work each afternoon and would like, hey, what about this and this winery? And he would always tell me about what his plans were when he moves back to Blackberry. And so like, we're at the French Laundry. Like he's telling me how beautiful Blackberry is. I didn't even know where Blackberry was. I just knew that you had to fly to Knoxville. And that time there weren't many flights even to Knoxville. Right. I was like, oh, okay.
Sure, dude.
Sure, whatever. Well, I remember once he was like waxing to me about Blackberry. I was like, dude, let's just take care of these 5 tables right here real quick. And about year 1 of us opening Frasca, Sam called and said, hey, I want you and Lachlan to come do a wine chef dinner at Blackberry. I was like, Sam, there's no way. I am in the weeds. I don't even have an assistant man. I don't even have another manager. It's just me. And I answer the phone during the day. And then Danette comes in from her job at the Max to help me host at night. Like we do not have the infrastructure to do 4 days of Blackberry. And he's like, now, Bobby, it's going to be awesome. We're going to drink some great wine. I'm like, Sam, I cannot do this. And literally I was off the phone for about 60 seconds. And I watched my business partner come out of the kitchen, Lachlan. What's going on, Sam?
Oh, no.
Sam had called Lachlan immediately. And he's like, oh, really? And we can drink things like Rayos and white Burgundy? Oh, yeah, we're in. That's how we got to Blackberry.
And you're like, I'm going to have to close the restaurant down for 4 days.
Well, what we did was like, we had one of our servers who was dabbling in wine. That was what created us to add leadership positions, was going to Blackberry. But I remember we were here and it feels like yesterday, but there was no barn. It was early days. And I remember like after the first afternoon here, like how magical Blackberry is, I called Ben. And back then, like, I think I had to like go to one hill and stand on one
Sounds
foot.
right. Oh yeah. No cell phone.
Yeah. Like I was like on one foot, like standing like on a rock, trying to get cell phone service. And I called Ben. I was like, hey, when we come back, we land at, I don't know, it was Wednesday at whatever time. I go, I need the entire staff in an hour early. I want to talk about the hospitality effect of Blackberry.
Oh, wow.
And that whole staff was, and I'm sure they were all going, what is Bobby's rant on? Like, what? He's in the foot of the Smoky Mountains and he's going to tell us about this hospitality experience. But it was like so magical. I had the whole staff come in for that.
Wow.
We've got hospitality usually wrong in the United States. We usually think is like service, the mechanics, carving a duck table side, this and that. But hospitality is, sure, you need to have the great mechanics, but it's about how you make someone feel. And what my experience and what it continues to be is everyone there is about the guest. The hospitality is about the other person. And that's what just caught me so off guard. It didn't matter if I was on a morning run and I saw someone wave at me that was raking leaves, or if it was a sommelier, or if it was anybody. It was how we felt was so magical. You know, and we forget hospitality is not a light switch that you turn on and off. It's got to be all the time.
If you had to impart some wisdom to somebody that's just coming up in the industry or just getting started, but has that spark, like I want to take that next step, what would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I would say is congratulations. You found the hospitality industry. You're so lucky. Because if you have that spark, you want to do that. Congrats. It's great. My wisdom would be like, look, you're in an industry, right or wrong, that you might have a college roommate that doesn't like it. You might have a future father and mother-in-law that doesn't like it. Someone in your sphere isn't going to understand what you do. And that's okay. They don't have to understand it. You just have to understand that you're in a beautiful industry. And if you're humble and use hospitality, not just with the guests, but with the coworkers that you work with and the people that you will eventually lead, it's all going to work out.
The hospitality industry is a great foundation for any career. Whether you're in finance or art, yoga, I mean, everyone can have this welcoming sense, that changes the game for any business.
I've met and had dinner with DJ Dave Solomon, the CEO of Goldman Sachs. The guy's really a good listener. He has hospitality. He's the CEO of Goldman Sachs. He loves knowing, listening and caring about someone else. That's probably why he leads that company.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. We are always honored when you come to Tennessee and see you anywhere else out there in the food and wine world. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I want to make sure people know where to find you. Yep. So Frasca, foodandwine.com.
Yep.
And your Instagram?
Bobby Stuckey MS.
Right.
Yeah.